Welcome everyone, for you guys watching YouTube later today, or later whenever. I'm going to be analyzing some Blizzcon matches. We're going to be starting with Maru versus SOS. So let's just jump into it. Okay, so this series, spoiler alert if you haven't watched Blizzcon, I mean, what were you doing? This series was very one-sided on the surface. Like, if you look at it, I've seen comments, people saying, oh, Maru played like shit. Oh, that's why he lost. But there's more to it than Maru played like shit. So, I've obviously watched Blizzcon. I've watched, I think, all the matches from round of 8, round of 4 finals, obviously. So, this is what happened. SOS and Maru, for those who don't know, are teammates. So when you play against teammates, there's way too many mind games that doesn't matter how good at StarCraft you are, sometimes you just can't understand them because you don't know what they've been practicing, right? Like, for all we know, Maru could have been practicing mech with SOS 24/7. And obviously he's not going to use that against SOS. So when you play against a teammate, you do want to play your best strategies that you've practiced against a teammate, but you want to deviate a little bit to confuse him, to make him think like, oh, it's this, and then you change the building positioning or change the attack pattern to confuse him, for him to be like, oh, it's this, oh wait, it's not that, he's doing something different. So it's a lot of back and forth, a lot of kind of false information being given, and just a lot of mind games that, like I said, I'll try to talk about in this series, but there's a lot of going on here, even though there's only, the games are very, very short. So first things first is, we see this proxy from Maru, which is fuck far away, right? So I've seen, when I watch this live, people are like, why is he proxying there? It's so far away, it's not even a proxy. Well, it's part of the mind game. So maybe in practice games, SOS was scouting around his base every game, so that's why he proxies it all the way there. So once SOS sees, oh, there's no barracks, then he's gonna scout around and see no barracks. So then that's the like, you try to confuse him part. So he proxies all the way up, which I guarantee he never did against SOS in practice games, but this is what I was just saying. He wants to throw him off and just do weird building placements, because Maru practice with SOS, these proxy builds, just trying to change it up a little bit. So first things we see here, SOS was going for a normal expand build right now, but he finds that, double gas, most likely proxy. He tries to scout around main base, grabs the second gas because of it. Every time you face a proxy, you don't want to fast expand, you gotta grab the second gas, start your cyber core. The wall off is already pretty good. This kind of wall off prevents Reaper from going in here to the bottom side. So when you're defending with Zealot or Stalker or Adept, you put your unit here and it covers all the positions. So this is the second part of the mind games, and this is what I was talking about. So right now, SOS, or Maru, wants to make SOS think this is a proxy Reaper into Cyclone Classic stuff, right? So what Maru does is he skips a Reaper completely to further confuse his opponent, because what happens is he sends the Marine home, so he's not even trying to be aggressive. SOS is being defensive with the Zealot, he's waiting, and now when you're Protoss and you see this Marine coming back, the first thing I would think is, oh, the barracks is probably right here, because the Marine is already home and he's defending. And this is another mind game they're doing between one another. So he kills this, and now SOS, he doesn't really know what's going on, right? He doesn't know if the buildings are here or they're proxy next to his base or wherever else. But because he saw the Marine, he starts sending the Zealot across the map, because he realizes the way that timings work in StarCraft. Obviously he has enough experience. He knows there's no Reaper, so he's sending Zealot across the map, and he made this pylon to prevent the wall off as well. Now, I don't think he would send the Zealot no matter what. I think he waited to see if the Reaper will show up, and then when he saw that it didn't, he made the pylon, perhaps to just block the factory, but yeah, he wants the Zealot to basically get in and do some damage. And again, this might be the response that Maru has never seen, or it might be a thing SOS does every game. So right now, SOS is sending his units across the map, and the reason he's doing this might have been luck on his part. He might be thinking that the proxy is here, so that's why he's sending across the adept across the map, but Maru is being very, very aggressive. And this is where things start going wrong for Maru. They start going wrong because when he does this build, usually people are defensive, right? They expect you to all in, so they're defensive. So what SOS does is he turns it on, he gets aggressive, gets this adept in, and we saw this adept do a lot of damage from here on out. One SCV, gets the Marine, and you can obviously see like Maru is not really prepared for this. He starts losing SCVs, 2 SCVs and a Marine as well. Adept escapes again, and it's just kind of all kinds of problems. Second Marine is coming back home, the Zealot intercepts it, and this is already a messy game, but in a favor of SOS quite a bit. Because what SOS is doing behind this, he's causing this havoc, and he's doing a very uncommon follow-up. One base blink to the Terran proxy is very uncommon. You don't see it very often. You see usually Stargate or Robo. But SOS went for blink, which is it worked out here. But again, is that because SOS does it every game? I really doubt. I think he went for this just because he's playing against Maru, and probably in practice games SOS has completely different response, which you guys will see a bit later. So here he has this shield battery, has the stalkers, he's ready. This adept killed 4 workers, so already not looking too great for Maru in this game. And obviously because the adept was in, he gave him all the info that all the buildings are proxied. So SOS knows at this point this is very, very committed. He actually starts another shield battery here. Let me show you guys. He's starting Robo as well. He's going super, super safe because he doesn't want to expand. He knows Maru is very committed. Maru can still expand, but even if he does expand, all his buildings are on the map. So even if Maru expanded, by the time he floats the buildings back, he's going to die to blink. And SOS knows this. So this is why he's kind of just going full defensive, getting the blink, getting stalkers, getting shield batteries, and just being defensive, because he knows blink stalkers on one base beat the 1-1-1 with no upgrades. So here we see another shield battery, because he's not sure if there will be drop, so he's not putting the shield battery in front, he's putting it in the back. He's like, maybe there's a double cyclone drop or something. But now he sees 2 cyclones back in the base, which again is another mind game that Maru is doing to him. So he took these 2 cyclones back. So now, if I'm Maru, I'm thinking, okay, he's probably going to expand because he's not being aggressive. So then SOS cancels his shield battery. Because he realizes, even if he was aggressive, by the time the cyclones go across the map, you know, he's going to have more stalkers, so it's fine. So now, the way you think as a Protoss, the only thing that can do damage to you is obviously nothing in the front, because the cyclones, he just saw them. So the only thing that's going to come is Medevacs, Liberators, or Cloak Banshees, which is why he has the Robo. He has the Stalker in position against the drop. His blink is almost done. So he's basically covering every single possible thing that Maru can do. And, you know, people saw these games and they were like, Maru played terrible. SOS just outplayed him in the mind game department and just read Maru really, really well. He had perfect response to everything Maru was doing. Here, he has the vision of the medevac. He's waiting with the stalkers. If you notice, he didn't go forward. He's waiting for these 3 stalkers. Blink's about to be done, and disaster for Maru's strikes. Instantly picks off the medevac, and at this point, at pro level, this is game over. Like, you don't come back from this. If you're on one base and you lose your medevac filled with units, this is it. So at this point, when I was watching this, I was like, well, GG. You just can't come back at pro level from this. That's about it. And the thing is, SOS only saw one Widow Mine, so he doesn't necessarily know what was in the medevac. If it was 6 Marines and a Widow Mine, maybe 2 Widow Mines and a Cyclone. But the moment he picks off that, he's like, okay, let's go. Let's go across the map. He's making an observer because he doesn't want to... he doesn't want to lose to Cloak Rangers or something like that. The Widow Mine here, again, good micro, and this is really smart what he does. So, he saw Marines come from this direction with the Zealot earlier in the game. So, you can see that he has no idea where the Proxy actually is, but he knows it's here somewhere. You can see, he just clicked here, so he's assuming that all the buildings are here. And this is something that makes a difference between a pro gamer Protoss and a top Protoss. So I guarantee people like even Showtime in the foreign scene, maybe even Neeb, they would perhaps either attack or they would stay back because, well, I picked up the medevac. But what he does is he just goes super aggressive because he knows I have enough time to go where the buildings are and snipe off the next incoming air unit. And he just goes for it, makes the base, he even blinks. Look, he's waiting. Like, he has no idea about this, right? He's waiting because he knows he can make that timing. So, he searches for it, he finds the Liberator, and again, people were like, oh, Maru's playing bad. That Maru couldn't have done anything. He finds the Proxy, picks up the reactor. Hold on, we gotta ban one noob in the chat for insulting the WCS players. There we go. Okay, so the Widow Mines are coming out, and at this point, SOS, this is the info he has. There's 2 Cyclones on the map. There are maybe 1 or 2 Marines from the barracks. He killed the medevac, he killed the Liberator. There's no possibility of the 3rd unit being out as well. He just killed the 2 more Widow Mines. So he pretty much knows what units there has at this point, or can have, right? This was a very sneaky maneuver by Maru. SOS misses this by just a tiny fraction. Check this out. So he is sending the observer because he doesn't know where the starport is yet. The starport is the only thing that he hasn't seen. So he thinks starport is like this way, I guess. And he misses the medevac and the Widow Mines going to main base, and this is when like the disaster strikes. And I guess he didn't, I think he just didn't expect the medevac after the Liberator, because it is kind of uncommon, and most people are not going to do that, but Maru went for it. Maybe he thought this is the only way I can come back into the game, because the game went really, really bad for him so far, if you've seen the units lost. And yeah, the Widow Mines dropped. SOS is not paying attention because in his mind there's nothing coming at him, so his mind is not even looking at the minimap because there's no reason to, or so he thought. He gets some massive Widow Mine shots, but SOS, I mean, he sees this, he sees 2 Cyclones, he knows the bunker can't even have 4 Marines, and he just goes for it. Snipes the Cyclone, gonna snipe the 2nd Cyclone, snipes the Marines. And that is pretty much it. So, all in all, SOS played really well in this game, read every situation possible, and did a very uncommon tech to fight this, which was very, very aggressive. And it's funny that SOS is a very all-in kind of Protoss, timing-based Protoss, whatever you want to call it. And it's funny to see him defend this with also kind of like super aggressive style. He doesn't just get Robo or Stargate and wait back. He just like goes and kills all Maru's units. So yeah, really well played by him. And I gotta wonder, like, did Maru ever face that when he practiced against SOS? Because he didn't take routes with his Metadax or Liberators to avoid Stalkers, to avoid Blink. He just went for it, which is why I said, kind of feeling like SOS mind game him quite a bit. Okay. So this is the second game of Maru versus SOS. And again, Maru is going for a proxy. SOS is doing pylon scouting, which is very, very good. Especially in the current meta when you know that, many Terrans are proxying these days, let's be honest. If not every Terran at pro level. So, now people were flipping out about the cannon rush, but this is a strategy that SOS obviously practiced. We saw he did a cannon rush against Cyril that was a complete disaster. It was probably the worst cannon rush I've ever seen in pro play. If you haven't seen it, once you see it, you'll understand. So he goes for the cannon rush. Now, 90%, I'm sure that SOS knew that Maru would proxy again. So he wasn't just doing this strat like whatever. He knew and took in consideration that Maru might or will proxy and still did this strategy, right? He's not playing this like, oh man, I hope he's not proxying. He's taking that in consideration. Now, Lost and Found is the best map I think we've ever had for cannon rushing out of any map pool. It is incredibly broken for cannon rushing in PvZ, in PvP, and it's so broken that it's actually viable in PvT. That's how good the map is. And the reason why cannon rush is so good here is you can make two cannons here, you can wall them off from this side, you can wall them off here. It's very hard to surround it with workers to try to kill a cannon rush. And the thing that makes it super OP is once the cannon is here, you make a pylon on the high ground, and then your next cannon is already hitting the main base, which is not something that happens on any other map. This is specific to Lost and Found, and this is why Lost and Found is broken for cannon rushes. So, he's cannon rushing, he sees the no barracks, and now Maru has two options. He can either pull SCVs and try to surround this, which if he pulls the SCVs on the pylon, it's a waste of time because he's just going to cancel and remake. If he pulls on the cannon, it's not going to do anything because he will just make a pylon here, and Maru will lose so much mining time, and the cannon rush will still continue. So what Maru does is he just kind of lets it happen, tries to kill the probe a little bit, but not really. And the unfortunate part for Maru is, just like last game, he's proxying way far off SOS's base. And this is something that SOS might have taken in consideration. Like, he's not going to proxy here. That's too obvious. That's what he does when we practice and stuff like that. So he goes for cannon rush. And like I said, unfortunate for Maru, he's proxying in the top left corner, which not only it's really far away from SOS's base, but it's far away from his own base. So right now, Maru is in a really bad state. If this Grax was here, then the Reaper can get somewhat quick in SS's base. The game is maybe different. But, that's StarCraft. Behind this, SOS, very important building positioning, by the way. When you do cannon rushes, you have to think about why and where you're placing your buildings. So he puts the pylon here, very good positioning, forge here, and then a gateway to wall this side off. So if the Reaper wants to come, he needs to come from this side of the main base, and by building cannons in specific spots, you can completely deny the Reaper from actually attacking your probes. So SOS obviously knows, Maru has no buildings here. He doesn't overcommit. It's the only one cannon in the low ground, two in the high ground, and that's all he needs. So now he's already transitioning. He's making a cannon in his own base because it's basically a checkmate, right? Maru can't really defend this. He just put a timer on Maru, like, you need to move, you need to do something, you need to try to kill this. So he's already transitioning behind in the main base because of it. He's going to grab gases and just kind of go from then on out. So Maru lifts off, goes to this base, which is a huge mistake. This is a big mistake that Maru did, and I think the reason why he made this mistake is I don't think he's played against cannon rushes that often for this to be a problem. I don't think he was in this specific situation very often. The reason why you never want to land here, there's always a temptation, this is the closest base, I'm going to land here. but you don't want to land here. The reason for that is you can get cannon rush from the high ground, which is going to cause you to lift again and reposition. So you're going to waste more time. And another thing, which what SOS did after, is you can warp in a stalker and shoot the SCVs from the high ground. I would have actually loved to see another cannon and like a shield battery even here from SOS, and then warp in a stalker, because that would be another one of those checkmates. So anyway, Maru is grabbing stuff from the low ground. SOS, like I said, sees that this is not good, or well, it's good for SOS. He makes a gateway. This is completely reactionary. He would not make gateway if Maru expanded here, but he sees an opportunity and he just kind of goes for it. Like I said, he has the money. If you threw a cannon and like a shield battery, I would have loved that, because that would have ended the game even quicker. Now back in the base, Hellion comes out. You know, he does a little bit. Actually, no, he doesn't do anything. Yeah, SOS didn't lose a single probe. Good micro on that. There's a cannon, so you can't really, you know, dive in. Gets the stalker on this side, and just gets 4 gates, because he's like, well, I'm gonna deny this mining right here. So even if you have a tank or whatever else, it's gonna be really awkward for you to defend, and he just decides to go for it. SOS was in these kinds of situations more often than Maru, because this is guaranteed a strategy that he's not been practicing with Maru. So at this point, I don't really think there's any build or any transition that SOS can do that is bad. Whatever he did in this situation, I think it would have been good. Oracles, Phoenix, Immortals, DTs, Depths with Glaives, Blinkstalkers, because this base is so awkwardly positioned that, yeah, it could have been picked apart super easily. Now the Stalker comes in and Maru is like, well, I guess I should not have taken that base. Look at Maru queuing up SCVs. Legend. So he's trying to do some cute micro here with like Reaper and Cyclone. Shield Battery comes out. And, you know, if you took this base, you can make a bunker like around here and kind of defend both sides. But here he's getting attacked from 3 sides. He can get attacked from here, and from here. So there's no place where he can build a bunker and safely defend it. Loses the probe there, which is a little sloppy, because he definitely wanted to throw down a pylon like closer. But, you know, what are you going to do? 2 Stalkers on the high ground. Gets the shield battery as well. Oh wait, I don't remember him getting a shield battery. Oh, my bad. I thought he didn't get a shield battery. Never mind. So yeah, there's a shield battery. These 2 Stalkers are immortal. This Cyclone can't do anything. Maybe I was thinking of one of my potato games. Never mind. Yeah, okay, never mind. Good job, SOS. So here, he goes for the frontal push, denying the mining on the high ground, and that's pretty much it. Where are you gonna go now? Even if he lands on the bottom, SOS is making units the whole time, picks up the Cyclone, and GG. And that, kids, is why you don't land on this base. Pretty straightforward. I see, the first game, I think SOS outplayed Maru quite a bit. This game, I would say that Maru played not necessarily poorly, but his decision making was very poor, and I think that's due to lack of experience against Cannon Rush while Maru is proxying across the map. Because you literally need to play one game against Cannon Rush, land on that base, and lose against this to know that this is a no-no. You don't land here. Literally one game. And after that you learn and you're like, never again, I'm never landing there. But that's why you mix it up in tournaments. Okay, let's move on to game number 3, and then I'm going to check your guys' questions. I'm going to check your questions in the chat regarding this series, and then we're going to move on to analyzing another series. Okay, third game, 7 minutes. All these games are super short and looked very, very one-sided. Okay. Okay, let me answer this question because it's actually an interesting question. It's weird because it's the most common cannon map, so how is it possible he didn't know? Well, cannon rushing Terrans is like proxy barracks against Zerg. This is like a kind of a silent agreement amongst every pro player that when you're a Terran player and you're a pro, you don't two racks proxy against Zergs on ladder because there's no point. It's easy to execute from Terran point of view, and the only thing you're doing is you're giving Zerg players the practice, right? Just like cannons. SOS doesn't need, or any Protoss in Korea, they don't need to practice cannons on the ladder against Terran because it's easy. It's just like PvZ and PvP, but they can save that and use it in tournaments because Terrans have no practice against it. Maru didn't prepare for this, for this BlizzCon and told Stats or SOS like, hey dude, can you cannon rush me a couple of times because it is a uncommon strategy. And it's the same thing that happens with, like I said, two barracks proxy against Zerg. No one does it on the ladder pro level, but when tournament comes up, everyone does it because it's just a good build. Terrans don't need to practice it, but Zergs need to play custom games specifically for it. But no Terran players want to play custom games with two barracks because it gives them practice, yada yada, you get it. Okay, so game number 3, voila, Maru goes for the proxy again. And I'm gonna talk, actually let's talk about it now. So, I've seen, like I said, I've watched this live and people in the chat is like, why are you proxying? It doesn't work. You're losing games. 2 reasons. Like, just try something else. I think one of the casters also said it. Just stop proxying, just play a normal game. Now, this is why he's doing it. A, this is what he practiced. He's been practicing for months, not just for BlizzCon, but for GSLs, and the GSLs also he proxied every single game. If a pro gamer like Maru comes into a tournament, loses twice with a build, and does it the 3rd time, that means that he is the most confident in that build to actually work the 3rd time. It's not because he's being stubborn or he doesn't know how to play something else. He just thinks his best chances to win are the proxy barracks. Second thing, I've said this for months, years, and I think every tier that has ever played a game said this well. PvT late game is, it's broken, guys. Come on. Colossus, High Templars, Tempest Carriers, let's be honest, and Disruptors. It's extremely hard for Terran to win in the late game, which is what TY, Maru, Innovation, and all the other Korean top Terrans, because I know people don't want to listen to Scrub like me. They've said it also, the reason why they proxy is because they don't want to play against Protoss in mid and late game, which is a whole new thing, and I'm not going to go in depth into it. So, he's not going to just normal barracks fast expand if he knows that by doing that he's already behind, because the only thing SOS needs to do is not die super early, not lose many probes, move into mid-late game, and he wins because Protoss is favored. So that's why Maru goes for proxy yet again, and this time he is changing it up. He is turning off the mind games, but it's actually another mind game. So this time he's not going to proxy far away because the 2 previous games he proxied in the corners. Now he's proxying at the most obvious spot because what he's thinking is, well, I'm going to proxy here because I proxied twice in the corner. So now I'm going to proxy where he wouldn't expect me to proxy because he knows that I know that he might scout there, and it's just like a layer of mind games basically. So he goes for proxy. Again, SOS sees the double gas, grabs his own double gas, goes for the Reaper, drills the Nexus a little bit. SOS again going with the pylon, sees the factory in the main base, and he cancels it this time. So why did he cancel it this time and not the previous time? Well, because he saw in the first game that there was no factory in the main base, so he knew the factory is proxied as well. Now he sees the factory, and there's no point to keep the pylon because there will be units coming out of the factory, while in the first game there were no units, so leaving the pylon in the first game was good, because the Adept can arrive in time and just kill a bunch of SCVs. He keeps scouting here, tries to get as much info as he can. Reaper comes out, tries to do some damage, doesn't kill a probe, and loses the Reaper. Now, this is an obvious mistake. This is not like SOS, mind gaming or outplaying. This is just a mistake from Maru. He got hit by the Zealot and then hit twice by the Adept. Loses the Reaper, and this is not the start he wanted. Not the start he wanted. He rebuilds the pylon. There we go. Maru is actually supply blocked. So you can see already nerves playing into it. Maru potatoing a little bit. This is a very noob supply block. And I think at this point, it's very hard when you're in a tournament, because I've been there, where you practice something so much and it works so well, and then you play against someone and he just shuts it down. And you kind of start to be like, well, what do I do? Like, this is what I know. This is what should work, but it's not working. So you see this potato supply block. Let me actually see if he tried to make a supply depot and then pylon was built again and he blocked it. Or did he just forget to build a depot? Just make sure. No, he just forgot to build a depot. So yeah, at this point, Adept gets in again. And, well, when Adept gets into your base and you have no units, you're going to be losing some SCVs. Yeah, this was lucky for SOS that Maru didn't make a supply depot, because he should have had this cycle a long time ago. But this is just proof that everyone makes mistakes. Doesn't matter how good you are. Sometimes you get supply blocked at freaking 23 supply. Behind this, let's see, what does SOS see? Oh, okay, so this is another thing that I'm not sure if it was mentioned on the cast. So SOS saw the CC, right? So what he did is he went for the gold straight away before he saw the CC building, because it is SOS, right? He plays weird, and again, this is one of those things where maybe he never did it against Maru in practice games, but he practiced against other Terrans. Because when you're a pro player, you know what you played in practice against which players. So you know, okay, I never did this against this guy, so I'm gonna do it now. So he takes the gold. And this is it is a greedy gold in a way, right? But when you take bases like this as your natural, you're basically forcing your opponent to attack you. So for example, Maru can't really play a normal game from here on out, even if he had an expand, right? Because if Maru sees that he has the gold, he can't just sit back, because he's obviously mining more. So everything SOS is doing, he's going to have more and more money, more and more minerals, and he's just going to snowball from there. But Maru right now has no clue what's going on. He's just being defensive. You can see his vision. He has no idea. The Banshee going across the map. And SOS, again, going for Blink plus Observers. Recalls the probes here. That's something you should always do if you ever hide a base, or have a base that's not in your natural or your third. And now he's extremely far ahead. Very soon the gold mining is kicking in. The Banshee going from the bottom side, and yeah, SOS is just playing defensive. And at this point you're kind of hoping that the Terran doesn't scout you. But again, Maru going for the SCV scout.
Research complete.
Maybe SOS did practice this against him. Goes for the SV scout, sees the stalker, sees the base, and at this point, okay, what did you see? He saw the Nexus finished, right? So at this point, it's kind of stupid, but you have to attack, right? Like, this is when I saw this game live, I knew when Maru started attacking, I knew he was dead. But you can't stay back. You're gonna lose in the long game, and it looks like a bad decision. but at this point it's the only decision. If Maru's base was already up, if he didn't cancel the CC, maybe he can play on and kind of work, you know, around the fact he has the gold because the gold is far away. But because his CC is so delayed, he lost SCVs, he just needs to attack. Especially because he has no scouting on inside of SOS's base, he has no clue what's going on. He did see Twilight earlier, so he knows there's probably Blink. He doesn't know there's Robo, and if you're SOS, you're just chilling right here. What you want to do is try to get scouting in the main base, so you know when Maru is moving out, if he's moving out. Because again, SOS still thinks this CC is probably done by now. He doesn't know it was cancelled. And Maru is just hoping that there's no Robo. And he goes in with the Banshee, cloaks. Well, Maru actually sees the Observer, which is very good. Sees it shimmering and moving, it just runs back instantly. And yeah, not a good position to be in. He uses these Stalkers as a little bit of a scouting tool. Instead of waiting here, he's using his APM to get in front of Maru's base to see if there was a move out. He would see it right now instead to wait all the way back because his Observer still didn't arrive at Maru's base. So now he sees the units move out. He saw the SCVs with the tank, and he's just gonna confirm it with the Zealot. He keeps the Stalkers in the main. He doesn't want to bleed out probes. And at this point, it's like the first game. You're fighting Blink Stalkers with, you know, Marines with no stem, no shields, with Cyclones that are gonna die because they suck, and then with one tank that can easily be sniped. So yeah, I mean SOS now with the Blink, not really hard to get some damage done. I do want to say that every time you do face these kind of pushes from Terran, you want to meet them as close to the Terran base as possible, because if SOS just waited here, there would be 4 or 5 Marines more, and maybe this game looks different. Observer arrives, pops one of the Banshees, still hasn't lost a single Stalker, and now he knows the only real threat is the siege thing here. Everything else is easy to kill. He's just buying time as much as he can. Even if this base gets super low, he doesn't care. Pulls the probes, waits for the tank to be unsieged. The tank just started sieging. Maru overextending a little bit. Maybe it would be better if he left the siege thing here, build a bunker or something like that. He overextends completely. And, well, Stalkers pop the tank. Probes are tanking a little bit. And, yeah. Rough game for Maru. Rough game. He loses everything. Benches go down. I think, yeah, he chases down some of the SCVs. And yeah, right now he sees Maru scans that super quick, but he saw there's 2 tanks and like 6 Marines, and he just decides to go for it. And again, this is the SOS thing to do. Most Terrans would just, or most Protosses would just get a natural base and just kind of slowly transition into, you know, maybe Forges, Robo, Immortal units, Colossus, but SOS is just like, eh, I'll just go for it. He had charge here, and I mean, he has the killer instinct. He knows when he can finish the game. It looks very sloppy, and at some points you're like, is he gonna hold? No. And the War Prism rise, and oh. Rip Maru. So overall, this series, I would say that SOS definitely outplaying Maru as far as the mind games go, and as far as adjusting his playstyle to knowing, you know, obviously their practice partners and stuff. And Maru just kind of seemed to try to like change the barracks positioning. He basically did the same thing, but just changed the barracks positioning, which SOS just kind of slapped down completely. I would have liked to see a little bit of a different mind game from Maru. Maybe put the barracks in your main base, open with Marine, and then proxy the second barracks this is the strategy that I think first time we've seen from TY, if I'm not mistaken. So it's basically a marine opener, and then you continuously make marines, and you proxy another barracks with marauders. And like, I would have liked to see that kind of proxy, something a little bit different. But, you know, SOS was obviously very, very prepared for these kinds of proxies. And, yeah, it didn't really look too good from Maru. But the games didn't really get to the point where Maru is Maru. You know, the multitasking, the drops. SOS just kind of killed him super, super quick. And that's pretty much it. That is pretty much it. Yeah, that's all I can think of for this series. Let me know what you guys think about it. I would love to hear your opinion. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe, and make sure to check out one of my previous videos. As always, I want to thank you guys for watching. Have a very nice day, and I'll see you guys next time.